Imagine you have everything you've ever wanted, but then a mistake from your past comes haunting you, and in a split second, everything you've ever worked for is taken away from you. Well, this is the reality of cancel culture, so let's talk about it.
The very last episode of Uncancelled. I'm O,
And I'm S.
and today, in this episode, we'll be talking about the true realities of cancel culture.
Yes, many people have been impacted, whether it's negatively or positively, by cancel culture, and it's done a lot of damage to some people as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really sad to see many people losing their jobs, their lives, their careers over cancel culture.
Exactly. As teenagers, cancel culture has, made its way into our lives as well, whether it being us canceling people ourselves or seeing other people getting canceled.
Yeah, and it's really scary to see, and I know it scares a lot of other people of just the thought of being canceled, because cancel culture, it's like something that you did in the past could at any point of your life just be brought up. So all your mistakes being brought up and thrown at you.
Exactly. And, all of a sudden, thousands of people just hating on you. It's a really serious thing, and it can really, lead to mental health problems, and it can really ruin your life basically.
Yeah, and although in this podcast series so far we've talked a lot about famous celebrities, especially, we don't really take account of people who are being canceled who are not that famous, like little mini TikTokers and small businesses and other stuff like that.
Exactly. I've seen a few stores even. People post posters. They're like, oh, boycott this store because of something they did or something. And I see this. I've seen a bus stop a few days ago for the Bell Center or something. It was boycott and stuff. So literally anybody can get canceled. It doesn't have to be anybody. I know some people from our school.
Who have been canceled, and it's really. I guess it's scary to see because it shows how in our society, instead of it going to a more peaceful, everyone accepting, it's kind of the diversity is dividing us into cancel culture and all this kind of horrible stuff.
Yes, throughout the past few weeks, we've talked about a lot of celebrities who have gotten canceled, and it's really impacted their lives. It's really changed how they view the world and how we view them as well. We've probably grown up with a bunch of celebrities, and we see them a certain way until something happens. They could do something, and then we just don't know how to feel anymore. Was this the same person that I've loved since I was a kid, or who is this person? Do we really know them?
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, cancel culture kind of goes both ways. Some people will argue it's good, some people argue it's bad. And an example of it being bad is Johnny Depp and stuff, the people like him, where they were wrongly accused of something and they were wrongly canceled, and it's just really sad to see this happening.
Exactly, but there have also been some good examples. For example, when J.K. Rowling, she, kind of posted some tweets about that kind of, indicated that she was a transphobe. And it kind of, shows how as together we can all stand up for an issue that we believe is important.
Yeah.
And, we just have to kind of realize that cancel culture, it can be a weapon that we can use, well, that can come to our favor, but it can get out of hand really easily. So we have to kind of know where the limit is. People have, sent others, death threats, and I feel that's crossing the line.
Yeah, I feel that's what's one of the biggest problems with cancel culture is that people take things way too far. They really, death threats is not something that should ever be done. And there's other things where people are actually going up to these celebrities or other normal people, harassing them, actually going to their house and finding out where they live. And it's really scary, especially with this day and age and the technology, and that anyone can find your house address in within seconds.
Exactly. And because, usually anyone who is counseling others, you don't really have a name or a face to those people. They're kind of just accounts basically because it's usually done by like through social media, online. So, people will find more courage in others not knowing who they are. Like you wouldn't go to a random person usually and just, start hitting on them. But through the screen, no one knows who you are. There usually aren't any consequences to you, being really rude and stuff. So I feel like that gives people, they get more courage and they're more like, it's fine. Like, no one knows who I am. I can say whatever I want to.
And that makes complete sense. And it's like really sad to see how far cancel culture has gotten and how relevant it is in our society, like in our community right now. It's very relevant. People are canceling people like on a daily basis, and at the same time, it's become kind of like a trend almost. And it's really sad to see because canceling someone, it means basically blocking them out from society, from the world, from like you know what I mean, right? But like the fact that people are taking it so lightly is really damaging and scary.
Exactly. And as we've kind of, talked about in our other episodes, cancel culture can be really fickle as well. We don't like always stick to the decisions we make and like for example, we've recently did James Charles where we talked about how he was canceled, then uncanceled, and then canceled again.
Yeah.
And so, it's kind of playing with, the issue basically. It's like, it's good, it's fine, it was in the past, now it's back again, it's a big deal. So I feel like it's kind of making important issues not a big deal anymore. We're kind of becoming insensitive to a lot of things.
And the thing is that it's kind of ironic because the whole point of cancel culture is like to be more sensitive, I guess, like to basically touch on the issues, and the fact that it's being used like so relevant or so much, right?
Yeah.
It kind of just destroys the whole purpose of it.
Yeah. And, I don't think cancel culture, like, even if you try to use it positively, I feel like there are more negative impacts to it. Like, I know what cancel culture helps bring awareness. Like, there have been a lot of issues where I wouldn't know about it if it wasn't for cancel culture.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh, this person got canceled. It's like, why? Oh, because of this issue. And then I know about it. But there's a lot more damage because that person now, for example, if they're wrongly canceled, like we don't always know the truth of we don't always know the truth. So if it comes out that they were actually not a bad person, you basically kind of like ruin their life. Like with Johnny Depp, for example, at first I think he was canceled because he was accused of abusing Amber Heard, right? And he lost all his jobs, and it really impacted his life. And now people are like, oh, he's a good person again, but what are you gonna do with that?
And he still lost his jobs.
Exactly. This doesn't like really change anything in his life. We might be like, oh, he's a good person again, but it still ruined his life. So I feel like we have to be very careful with who we cancel, and we have to like have all the facts correct, like 100%. We have to treat it with like, I don't know, a lot of importance, I guess.
Yeah, significance. Like we shouldn't treat it like it's just some kind of like something to toss around. It should be like handled with a lot of care, I guess.
Exactly. And, there have been positive effects of cancel culture. We, like, bring awareness and we kind of, show all the bad things. Like, I feel like it's also impacted, like, a lot of companies or movies even,
Yeah.
When we talk about an issue and they've, kind of brought all the issues into their movies or shows. And even, like, some companies, like, for example, there is a breakfast foods company, Aunt Jemima.
Yeah, Aunt Jemima, yeah.
And they were canceled because the name of the brand was racist and stereotypical, and a lot of people were offended by it. And they changed the name, and this brought change, and this was a good way of using cancel culture. We really brought change with it, and now the name has changed, and we've like progressed as a society. But that's just one example out of the thousands or hundreds of the bad examples of cancel culture.
Yeah. So before we get way more deeper into this, let's look at the originations, and how it actually started. So it started with like a song written by Nile Rodgers. In this song, it was called "Your Love Is Cancelled," and basically this was a line, or in a line of his song, he mentioned canceled, right? And he referred it to like a woman being canceled. and it was played in a movie called New Jack City, and this was in 1991, and this was the original, like this was the very first ever, I guess, ever realization of what cancel even meant, because before this, canceled, it didn't really have a meaning, right? It's just like, oh, canceled, like canceled my subscription, you know what I mean? But after this like song and after this like appearance, people started realizing, hey, let's use this for, you know, actual other celebrities and people, and that's how it began.
Yeah, you at first though, cancel culture was usually used towards women because the song did like, reference it as to women, so it was usually used towards like women celebrities. But now it's used from anybody. Anybody could be canceled now. It doesn't matter, their gender, race, or whatever.
Yeah.
If you do something bad and nobody likes it, you're canceled.
Yeah, and it's really, like, it's really sad to see that it was only in 1991, which was, like, 30 years ago, that's when it started, and so many people have been affected by cancel culture. So many people are now afraid of, like, just speaking out or just, like, saying their opinion because they're afraid of being canceled. And honestly, it's, like, a fear like, it's an actual fear that people have, and it's really sad because it's affecting, like, people's decisions and also people's, like, opinions.
Exactly. Like, I know a lot of celebrities, when they come out, like, talking about issues that they believe in, one of the first fears they talk about is being canceled. They're always like, oh, I was scared of talking about this, and I'm glad that now they've actually found the courage to talk about it, like, issues such as, like, body image and your sexuality. People are like just scared to come out with it because they have a huge chance of getting canceled. This could really affect their whole life. They could lose their jobs and personal life and everything. So now that people, I feel like they have more courage, but they also have that intense fear that if people don't relate to what they're saying or they don't agree, it could ruin their whole life. They're literally putting their life in jeopardy just to speak their minds.
Yeah, and it's really scary to see this because, like, it kind of, for the, I guess, the audience perspective, you don't really know what to trust anymore because you know that, hey, this, like, thought of cancel culture is in everyone's mind, so you don't even know what they're saying is actually their opinion. Is it even true? Or, like, do they even believe what they're saying, or are they just saying it so that they don't get canceled? And it really shows how cancel culture, at first it started off, like, as something that's really good, and, like, I guess, like, it's supposed to be, like, a good thing because, like, it puts people out and, like, kind of shows the reality of, like, what their mind is. But now it's kind of, like, twisted into, like, wow, this is more of, like, just, some weird, I guess, like, scheme or something, like, along the lines of a scheme.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm like, cancel culture, it could have been used as a way to give, the whole community some power to fight for an issue that they believe in. But now, it's not, it's used really lightly, like, anyway, like, and I feel like it really impacts, like, the newer generation as well. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I only really heard about cancel culture when I was, like, in 8th grade. Like, I didn't know about it before, but now, like, little kids know about it.
Yeah, now little kids are like, oh, haha, you're so canceled now. And it's, like, really sad to see this because it's, like, an actual fear. And I know a lot of, like, kids, they probably are afraid of this. Like, this is gonna become the monster in the closet. You know
exactly.
What I mean?
And, like, can they really, like, find who they really are and, be true to themselves, I guess, if they're always constantly scared that people will,
Judge
turn
them.
on them.
Yeah.
Judge them, And, like, it's just a really, sad thing to see, like, now in the newer generation, how it impacts our, like, even as teenagers, like, usually people don't really, I don't know, the sense of individuality is kind of lost as well due to cancel culture because we're always scared that, if someone turns on us or something.
Yeah, and it's, like, sad to see that cancel culture has become, it really shows, like, the reality of our society and how judgmental humans are to each other. And it really shows how dark, like, our community is in the fact that, like, just one mistake from your past defines who you are. And that's really sad to see. But at the same time, like, anyone could out there can argue, well, actually, that one mistake, depending on what it is, it can define like who you are. Like, pretend if you're a murderer, if that one mistake was murder, of course, like, that doesn't make you a good person, obviously. But then there's, like, the other thing is that cancel culture, like we've been saying, has been overused to the point that, like, someone would be, like, I don't know, making a joke about someone's hair and people would take that, like, wrongly.
Exactly. I feel like, we have to be sensitive to, really important issues, but I feel like right now we're being sensitive to the wrong kind of things. You know what I mean? Like, just the other day, I saw this video of someone being beat up. And people are recording it and they're okay with that. But then on the other hand, there are people who might just make a joke or, and accidentally see something and they apologize for it, but they still get canceled for it. So we can really see how our society kind of focuses on the wrong things nowadays. For example, with James Charles, how he promoted his, competitions products with Tati. Well, I feel like I wouldn't really think that's a big deal, to be completely honest, but people thought it was a big deal, and so I feel like
people, like, hated on him a lot. Like, okay, honestly, like, you kind of already know our perspective with James Charles. We don't really like him, but, like, the whole Tati thing, I feel like that was really taken... That really just shows how cruel, like, cancel culture is. Because the fact is that he only posted one video, or, like, not even a video. He just posted a post about, a direct competition. And then he apologized for it after. And Tati, instead, she posted a 40-minute video. And apparently they were all lies. Like, someone figured it out that it was all lies. And people were still hating on James. And it's, like, really sad to see how... I guess one-sided our society is.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if the real truth comes out or not. We're still fixated on what was there before because everyone else kind of doing it. That's kind of how cancel culture works, though. It's like if someone canceled them, then we all kind of stick with them.
We all just follow along in their footsteps.
Exactly.
Blindly.
And this kind of, like, makes it, like, harder for people to kind of live their lives as well because there's, like, a huge chance they'll make mistakes,
Yeah,
and
of course. And in life, I feel like humans, we're built to make mistakes. We're supposed to make them.
Exactly. And as long as you, when you make a mistake, as long as you, take the... I don't know the word, take responsibility for the mistakes you made, I feel like it's okay to make mistakes. That's, like, how you learn. And, something doesn't work out, well, that's how you learn. But then, when you're always scared to make the mistakes, you don't do anything or try anything. Like, especially, like, for me, for example, I overthink everything. Like, literally, every little thing. And cancel culture makes it so much worse because now I'll be like, oh my god, like, I do anything wrong, like, everyone's gonna hate me. And it makes, like, life a lot harder for a lot of people, especially, for people who have it a lot worse, so people like anxiety or if they have, some mental health issues, cancel culture can make it so much worse on them.
Yeah, and it's really sad to see how, like, bad and, like, how much worse it's probably gonna get. And so, before we go, like, way deep, let's discuss the question that you've all been waiting for. Should canceled culture be canceled? What are your thoughts?
Well, I feel like it should be canceled. Like, to be completely honest, I feel like I've said before, I feel like cancel culture does a lot more harm
than it does good. And I completely agree with that.
Right? I feel like, we should find another way that's a little bit, has more boundaries, I guess, or has more rules about not to, like, cross the line. But I feel like cancel culture, like, super duper open. Like, there's, like, not a lot of rules to it. Like, I don't know if there's any rules to cancel culture. Like,
there's really no rules because
right?
It's something that society just made up.
Exactly.
Kind of.
And so it can really, like, damage people's, like, lives with it. And I just do not really like cancel culture at all. Like, other than the fact that it brings awareness to certain issues, I feel like it doesn't really do much.
It really doesn't. And I feel, personally, for me, I feel like cancel culture, I like the concept of, like, calling people out if they actually did something wrong. But the fact that it's been used, like, it's been overused so much, I feel like it's taken away its significance. It's taken away the point of it. And I think that right now, cancel culture it's not even, like, either right or wrong. It's just doing it to, like, make someone feel like, take away their life.
Exactly. And like if you actually search up people who got canceled, you'll see like a humongous list of people. And for like, the smallest things, like Ellen DeGeneres, I'm sure like I don't really know a lot about her, but she was on the list, and it was for toxic like work culture, like how she was, I guess, toxic to her coworkers, and that is a big deal. But I feel like, why would you like cancel, like completely outcast somebody just for doing that? Like I feel like, I mean, this could be controversial. I can see your face. You do not agree with me.
No, it's because with Ellen, I feel like, okay,
I mean,
if we bring up Ellen, I feel like there's a lot of like. Right now, I don't really know a lot about her
exactly
situation.
what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. Like on the list though, that was the only reason she was canceled. There was nothing else on the list.
I could because like I feel like with Ellen DeGeneres, I've heard a lot of things. Like there was like this whole scandal where she was with like this whole pillow company, which was to do with child labor. But
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, see, that's how toxic cancel culture is that like usually when people say, oh, let's cancel them, they don't really know the true like behind like the true underlinings, like why are they getting canceled. And usually it's so superficial that people just do it out of spite or something like that.
I didn't know about the pillow thing, but
see, and that's like a very clear example, and honestly I don't even know if it's true, but that's what I've heard, and that's how toxic cancel culture is.
So we don't always like know everything about everyone. Like literally when I searched it up, the reason she was canceled was because of toxic work culture. And it's a big deal, but I feel like it could be addressed differently than just canceling someone.
Yeah, and I think
the coworker could talk to her, just bring awareness. You don't have to like completely, ruin everything for her. But as you said, that she must have done like some other things as well to be canceled.
Yeah,
so I don't really know about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Also, like I agree with like what you're saying, and I know like a lot of people who are like other than Ellen, but like other people who are just being canceled for literally making a joke or like something. And it's just really cool to see this happening. Like especially how like the whole Will Smith's slap Chris Rock, he made a joke, and that was a very insensitive joke. And the fact that like Will Smith, like it's very controversial because it's a joke and it was technically his job to make it. But at the same time, it was very insensitive. So it's just like a really weird, blurry line. And no one really knows when it is good to
like when you're a comedian, it's very hard because like I feel like in nowadays society, we find a lot of things that are funny. But if you really think about it, they're not actually funny. They're kind of like
cruel and mean. And like, it's just weird.
Like usually jokes are making fun of others. Like if you like think about it, there are other kind of jokes, but the majority like jokes people that find funny are usually kind of making fun of others.
Or like making fun of yourself.
Exactly.
So honestly, I mean, we're not going to cancel comedians, but we're just trying to get you guys thinking,
Yeah, like, like what should be like, I guess, the criteria for being canceled, like what should be like the criteria for being canceled? Do you have to like be like a terrible, completely like, horrendous person, or is like the smallest thing that we have to be aware of, like not to say, like watch your words, I guess, for every little thing. Like, we have to kind of balance it out, I guess, in a way.
Yeah. So now you're probably wondering, okay, now why, or maybe you're not wondering this, but basically our title, or like the title of our podcast, our series, is Uncancelled. Why? Because we believe cancel culture should be uncancelled. It should not exist anymore. I feel like maybe it should have for like some time, but now it's just getting too far. I think we should just end it. Of course, what we're saying probably won't get to a lot of people, but in our honest opinion, we think it's done more damage than it has, benefits.
Exactly. I feel like, there are other ways to really bring your, like, views across. And at first, cancel culture was pretty, it worked really well. But now we have to kind of realize that, we have to kind of put a limit to, I guess, what, like, because cancel culture is a pretty big deal. It's not just unsubscribing. It's also, they're losing money, and they need the money to, like, live and stuff. And it might not, like Kylie Jenner, for example, I think she's been canceled a few times, like attempted to be canceled because she's done some things that are pretty insensitive. but we don't know the full story or anything.
Okay, so I think I think you guys understand our opinions now. So I'm O.
And I'm S.
And that is the end to our podcast.
Yes, for the last time, we are signing out.
Bye.